Now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to your RBLR Rays show. I'm Ben. With me is Zach. Good morning, Zach. How's it going?
Morning, Ben. I am well.
We've got a special guest today here, our professional journalist here at RBLR Rays. We've got all the way from way across the pond, Pat Davenport. Good morning or good afternoon, I think. Pat, how's it going?
Yeah, afternoon. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just, not chilling because it's actually the rarest thing in the UK, a warm day. So I'm just busy melting over here, which is a rare thing. So I'm excited to be on today and cool off a little bit.
Yeah, what's the temperature like over there?
It's there's a Fahrenheit Celsius thing going on.
You can give me Celsius. I'll convert it. I got you.
Okay, it's 21 Celsius, which is probably you're all gonna laugh at me because you're gonna be like,
oh no, that's like... what I wanted to do. Yeah, I gotta see that. Okay, all right. It's pushing 70 degrees over there Fahrenheit,
word.
Well, to be fair, the Trop is even warmer than that. The Trop, they keep it at 72. So
72.
You might want to bring some sunscreen, I guess. I don't know, maybe a towel if you ever head over there.
Yeah,
I don't know how hot it is.
The Trop, Pat?
I've not been to the Trop before. I've wanted to for a long time. I'm thinking maybe if we make we're going to make the playoffs, so maybe I try and push for a playoff ticket.
There you go.
If I can find a flight. Gosh, I'm going to have to bring shorts. I'm going to have to bring sunscreen for inside because we are not built for that weather.
There's a lot of LED lights that they have in the Trop too. It can get pretty bright in there. I will say they get creative with all the lighting in there.
I went to go watch the Ashes last week, and it was like even cooler than that, and I still got sunburned. So this is the state that we're in the UK. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm gonna have to prepare myself if I'm going to Troptober.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you want to help us in our efforts to get Pat to make the pilgrimage over to the Trop, you can make sure you continue to like, follow, subscribe, share what we do. Eventually that could turn into money. Who knows? So if you do that, we can use that money to fly Pat out and make that pilgrimage. So anyways, we're going to get into the week that was. We had a pretty interesting week, a couple injury related things. The trade market's heating up. It's definitely a seller's market. Deadline's approaching on Tuesday, I believe 6 p.m. Eastern time, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure, but
sounds
okay,
right.
Cool. Eflin could be going to the IL, but it's still probably unlikely, it seems. Maybe he just misses a start. Who knows? Yandy, we know he's too strong to get injured, so he's fine. It doesn't matter. Mejia knee thing we'll talk about later. Walls oblique thing. Yeah, but that's other than that a pretty average week given the context how things have been going. It's a pretty average week, I'd say. Anything I missed there? Any big news? Whatever.
Not really. I mean, there's some trades have been happening. I mean, there was some buzz about the Rays being linked to Lance Lynn, and then he ended up going to the Dodgers, which I am like very fine with personally. So there's been the Rays have been linked to like basically every single person who's up for trade. It seems like every single trade thing I read on ESPN or MLB.com is like the Rays are linked to this person. It's like I thought they were linked to this person. They're linked to everybody, and that seems to happen. I don't know if maybe I'm not remembering this correctly, but I feel like this happens almost every year. The Rays get linked to like everybody, and then they trade for like Luke Raley, like they did last year. So I don't put any stock in any of that, but it is very interesting. I'm very curious to see what actually they do, even if it's not something big in the sense of the name that's being traded for. I'm just very curious to see how the Rays handle this deadline.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, it's same as Zach, really, where we get linked to everyone. I have vivid memories of the 2021 deadline where the Cubs were selling everyone, Bryant, Baez. We were linked to Bryant. We were linked to Scherzer. We were linked to everyone on the market. We ended up picking up BLowe. We ended up getting Cruz like the week before, but we got on the actual day, we got BLowe, and everyone was freaking out and forgot that we got Cruz at that time. Yeah, it's the same as what I think most rational race fans are thinking. We're going to get linked to everyone. We're not going to get any of those names, and we'll pick up some kind of at the margin or kind of newly debuting young service time manipulatable guy, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the media likes to cast a wide net because the Rays are so tight-lipped. Like you kind of just have to like link them to everybody, so you'll at least be right about one of them, and then you have like your tweet that gets 100,000 likes because you're right. But if you assume that they're linked to everybody, you're eventually going to get it right. Sometimes, maybe not. I know you talked about it a little bit in your article, Pat. So maybe we could just jump right into that now.
Sure.
Because it's pretty relevant. I know you talked about some of the reasons we were struggling, particularly on offense, and then you also talked a little bit about trades in there. So for somebody that hasn't read it yet, could you give them like a rundown, but also don't give any spoilers because we do want them to go check that out on RBLRsports.com?
Sure. So I lead off with talking about what is actually going wrong with the Rays, because suddenly the wins and losses have just dropped off a cliff in the month of July. And it can seem a little frustrating because some days it looks like it's one thing, the next thing it's another thing. Sky is falling. So I was like, what's actually changed? What's going wrong? And essentially it's the offense. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anyone. And without going too into the weeds, it's an unfortunate cause and effect scenario where we've had a lot of awful BABIP luck. So our balls are getting hit just as hard, if not harder, than every other month of the season so far in the month of July. Our launch angle is actually higher than any batting ball profile over a month that we've had as a team. So we're hitting the ball in the air more. We're hitting the ball harder, which is like all the general rules for good hitting. But it's not working out into results. And if the X results compared to the actual results are all negative pretty much across the board, except for Jose Siri, who's just mashing the ball everywhere. So it's been bad luck. And because we have a lot of young or young-ish inexperienced players like Wanda, Randy should know better, but he seems to be falling into this trap as well of therefore pressing a bit more, swinging a bit more. A stat that I didn't cite in my article, but is where I think a telling picture. The Rays have seen the fewest pitches in the league this month. We are swinging early at the count at a lot of things. We are pushing early. Wanda's a big guy for this as well, where he's just trying his best to do everything he can. And sometimes that means he's not getting his best results, and it's getting more frustrating. So they're pressing more, and it's leading to a vicious cycle. But the at-bats are improving over the past week or so. The pitch count per at-bat is trending upwards, which is a good thing because they're being more selective. They're starting to get a few more walks. Base runners, we're not getting hits with base runners either. When I wrote the article, we'd hit 20 home runs in the month of July, and 16 of them were with the bases empty. So if you can only score one run at a time, that's not going to help as well. So bad luck with hit sequencing, bad luck with results, and that leads to chasing, essentially, and pressing. Is the long and short of it in terms of what's going wrong with the offense, I think.
Right. No, that totally makes sense. I feel like you hit the nail on the head. So the next question kind of is like, how do we get out of that? So I don't know, Zach, do you want to take that question first, and then we'll move over to Pat? How do we stop pressing or playing poorly and getting these results?
You know what? If I was going to get like, I think Wander's the first ones that comes to mind. What I would do to get him out of his slump is I would sit him down in a chair, and I would take him back. Maybe I think it was 2 years ago, very early on in his. I have a vivid memory of this. Very early on in his hit when he came up. It was the ninth inning of a game against, I believe it was the Red Sox, who at the time, Matt Barnes was their closer, and he was lights out at that time. And he was in at bat late in the game. There was nobody on. It was very late. We're trying to get somebody on base, and he had a 11 pitch at bat against Matt Barnes that ended in a walk. That then he moved up throughout the rest of the inning, and then ended up scoring and winning the game. That's what I would show him right now. As I would sit him down and say, make him watch that at bat and say, when you are the best player that you are, when you are the best version of yourself, this is what you do. You obviously take advantage, like we saw Brandon Lau last night. If somebody makes a mistake, take advantage of it. But otherwise, take your time. Don't feel like you have to, get all the runs back at once. Let the game come to you, and just take what the game gives you. And the more that you do that, the more successful you'll be. I think we've all seen it. When Randy is at his best, when he was like completely lights out as an all-star, his on-base percentage was higher than Yandy's for stretches. Like when he is at his best, he has great plate discipline when he chooses to use it. He has like selective plate discipline. They both, Wander and Randy both have selective, excellent plate discipline. When they want to have good plate discipline, they have great plate discipline. And when they get stressed out and when they feel like they have to get all the runs back at once because they're the superstars, they have really bad plate discipline. And Josh Lowe is a victim of that as well. And I feel like if you could just say one thing to all of them, I just need y'all to just slow down. Just everybody, you are required to take one pitch every at bat. You have to slow down. You have to not feel the need to score every single run that we've missed out on over the last month and a half, all in one game. Slow down, stop feeling like you're the only one who can score and the only one who can make a difference here. This is a very good team. We need to be in the mindset of passing the buck on to the next guy. I think when you look at the game last night where we didn't score in the fourth inning and the bases were loaded with nobody out, I think it was a textbook example of every single guy, all three of those guys that come, all wanted to hit a grand slam. Nobody wanted to hit a fly out to score a run or a bloop single to score 2 runs. Everybody there wanted to hit a grand slam, and didn't happen. And so when that doesn't happen, you get out of the inning with no runs. And I think that was a great microcosm of what the Rays offense has been recently. You have a lot of very talented guys because we got the bases loaded. That's why, while a lot of people are panicking, I'm not panicking because the Rays still loaded the bases. They are still doing things. They are still doing things offensively. They just need to close the deal. And what that takes is some patience and just being willing to wait for the pitch, to wait for the mistake over in the middle of the plate and then taking advantage of it. So I just think the Rays need to get back to that. They just need to just, take their foot off the pedal just a little bit. And I think if anyone is going to be able to, lead them into that, it's going to be Kevin Cash.
Definitely, Pat. What are you thinking? Same kind of thinking as Zach?
Same thing. Yeah, I think with these kind of scenarios, it's definitely pressure should be on, or the onus, should I say, should be on Kevin Cash, Chad Mottola. The coaching staff are the ones that need to settle down these young players. I know we always point to Wander, and there's a lot of discourse around Wander at the moment, but he is so cross at the moment. He is so angry all the time. His head is dropping at every opportunity. He needs to be guided. He's so used to just succeeding. He's so used to doing well everywhere he goes. And when he's slumping, he doesn't quite know how to handle that yet. And that needs to be on Cash and the rest of the coaching staff to kind of help guide him through it. We've still got, despite this core being around for a good 2-3 years now, they're still really young with the exception of Lau. Paredes is still, in his second full big league year. Series only in his second full big league year. We need to just kind of slow things down, like Zach says. I'm in complete agreement. And just don't be afraid to take the walks. I know it sounds so simple, but yeah, take the first strike. Don't always get at least one strike before you're allowed to swing for like 3 days or something like that, just to slow down things in their head. I don't know, but something along those lines, because they are still hitting the ball hard, which is the arguably most frustrating thing, is that they're not falling. So just take your time, breathe. The results will come. We're due some positive regression. That's all. Chill out. We're going to get there. At least the pitching's still good. We have that to rely on.
Yeah,
definitely. So, I mean, it's no secret that the offense isn't what they were at the beginning of the year. They haven't posted an above average weighted on, well, that's going to sound weird, an above average WOBA. WOBA is weighted on base average since like the beginning of June in a week. So like that's about 8 weeks now, including this week. It's still below league average. So these coaches, these players, they're professionals. They've been around the game, especially the coaches, a long time. So why has it taken them almost 8 weeks to do the things that you're saying? Are they just not good at coaching? Are they just missing it? Like, why haven't they done the things that you're saying that seem relatively simple for about 2 months now? They've just kind of like the team hasn't improved.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, when you look at coaching, I think about it in really any context. A coach can say whatever they want, and the players can, know in their mind whatever they want. But when you get on the field, unless you really believe it, and unless you internalize that and really make an effort to commit to what's being said, you're going to revert back to your instincts. And if your instincts are, I'm going to swing at everything and I'm going to be the hero and I'm going to be the guy. If that's your instinct, unless you are willing to fully commit to that message that's being given to you, you're going to revert back. And there's also a decent portion of this, which is like Pat's been saying, where people, they are trying to have the right approach and it's just bad luck. I think it's a combination of they try to stay within themselves. They have bad luck. So then the next time they revert back to their, what their instincts are. And then they settle back down again and they revert and they try to do it the right way and they have bad luck. And it just is a cycle where they just need some good luck. I think really, if they just have a couple games of good luck, a lot of this stuff will start to stabilize back. They just had bad luck and it's going to happen. A lot of times you see teams have bad luck that's sort of spread out over the entire season. Feels like we've gotten a lot of our bad luck like right now, where it's all just clumped up together and it's just spiraling this sequence out of control in a way that we haven't seen before this year.
Yeah. And I think the Orioles series we saw last week was like such a good example of that, where every time the Orioles made soft contact with a little blooper somewhere, it got down, it got for a hit. And all that soft contact was managing to squib through holes or land in no man's land. Meanwhile, the Rays would, Yandy would hit 100-mile-an-hour ground ball, but it would be, positioned well by a fielder. And so our BABIP block is hopefully due some regression, but I think also it's a process. I think June was where we really started to see that drop off. And that's probably where the pressing started. And that's where they've got to kind of unlearn some bad habits. And that happens over time as well. And one other thing that I think is happening is just over larger sample sizes. There are some hitters that are getting worked out that are young and have kind of weaknesses that pitching staffs are starting to realize about now. I was actually personally surprised it took teams this long to start pitching Josh Lowe with high fastballs all the time, because you can't hit him. It's really simple. Throw Josh Lowe a high fastball. He really struggles. And in April, teams weren't doing that for some reason. I don't know why. But now they're starting to realize there's weaknesses there that can be exploited. Wander likes going down and away. He really likes chasing off speed down and away. So they're starting to exploit that, which again, adjustments are going to be made, but it's a process. And it's the back and forth of a baseball season where a hitter will be doing well, then they'll find a pitcher will find a weakness, it'll be exploited, they'll make the adjustment, which may create a new weakness, which then pitchers will then exploit, and the cycle continues.
Definitely, yeah. There are going to be ebbs and flows. I'm 100% on board with that. That's just part of the game, and I think people need to really understand that, because the players understand it. Like, they're frustrated at times on the field, but they're not going to let that bleed over into their personal lives or in the clubhouse. Like, you got to leave it on the field, and they are starting to snap out of it. We had an 82 WRC plus last week, up to 88 so far this week, so it's improving. Not great, but getting there. Runners in scoring position, we had 3 consecutive weeks with a WRC plus below 100. This week it's at 106, which, cool. That's an improvement as well. So that's trending in the right direction. And however, we are on pace for our 5th consecutive week with a BABIP below 300. That sounds bad, but it's really just not sustainable. Like, the league average, I think this year is like 307, 308. Like, just by chance, like, that's going to improve. And they're on pace for their lowest ground ball percentage since mid-June. So things are moving in the right direction. All the under the hood numbers are starting to look better. So it is what it is. Just got to keep chipping away. You're not going to turn it around in one day, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you guys were saying. The two names that I was hearing a lot from both of you were Wander Franco and Randy Arozarena. Both of them are running like a sub 50 WRC plus for in the second half and for a good portion since like early June. So you can't really win games when two of your best hitters are just not hitting. Yandy has gotten better. Like he's fine. He's up in his like normal 120, 130 range. Brandon Lau, he was always going to get back to like the 130, 140 range. Like that's just who he is. But Randy and Wander are two guys that are like, they've been above 120, like close to 130 their whole careers. So do you think they're going to stay at this level for the rest of the season, or should kind of going into the trade deadline here, should the Rays be looking for a bat? Because our listener topic said that the most votes that we got were for the answer choice that said we should acquire pitching and hitting. So should we do that? Do we need to?
No, I don't think so. It's one of those where Randy, you absolutely don't stop playing Randy. That's like a no-brainer. Wander, you don't stop playing him, because even on his bad offensive days, isn't it weird how when we first called Taylor Walls up, we were like, he's the guy that's going to stick it short, but Wander's kind of iffy as a fielder. He's going to maybe play more third base, and now he's like, he got the most WAR in the AL for a good chunk, mainly off his fielding. You can't not play either of those guys. They're too good not to. The only place you can really find a bat is at the catching position. And we might talk about this more in a minute, but again, hard to find like cheap guys at the catching position, because that are going to make a difference anyway. And then the only other place with Walls out, maybe you want to make an improvement on the utility role, but I don't see a problem with Brujan personally. I don't know. And pitching, we do need inning eaters. We talk about this. We've talked about this a lot, that we need those kind of inning eaters, especially if Eflin needs time. It's looking like he doesn't need time on the IL, but if he does, we definitely need someone that can eat, 8 innings between now and the end of the season. Please, somewhere.
Yeah, Zach, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree. Like the question I always ask when people say we should trade for offense is, okay, where are you going to put him? If we can't find a place for a dude who is literally unconscious right now at AAA in Jonathan Aranda, if we can't find a place on our roster for that guy, like it's just going to be difficult to find a place on the roster for anyone, unless you're talking about unless we somehow trade for Paul Goldschmidt. Okay, we'll find a spot for Paul Goldschmidt on the roster, but like we're not going to trade for Paul Goldschmidt. So when you look at offensive improvements, there's a case to be made that the best offensive improvement we can make is biting the bullet and bringing up Meade or Aranda and letting them have a shot, because I think that maybe they catch fire and you get lucky. I don't know. I think that's the only offensive improvement I would really want to see. From a pitching standpoint, that's the only place where I could see them potentially going for someone a little bit higher quality. Like, I think they're probably just going to find someone who can eat some innings. There is an outside shot that they might try to pick up someone who's a little bit better, because Taj Bradley while he is improving, he's definitely working through a lot of stuff right now. And because almost all of our mainline starters have had some kind of injury at some point this year, I could see them potentially saying, well, maybe we should spend some of our, middle infield capital and acquire someone who we can trust to not only eat innings, but maybe kind of eat them at a higher rate of quality than maybe, your average guy, who's just milling around in AAA. I think maybe that could happen. But there's just not a lot of places to put guys. There's just not a whole lot of guys who are like, yeah, let's just get rid of that guy. Like, I think Brujan is, from a standpoint of, could we move him down and the team would not, decrease in quality? I think yes. I think you could move Brujan down. But after that, like, who you getting rid of? Who you sending down in AAA? Who you trading away? Like, there's just not a whole lot of good options unless you say we're going to revamp our DH position, and you say we're going to trade Harold, or otherwise get rid of Harold, and you're going to go for some sort of really big splash upgrade at the DH position. Because like you said, you mentioned catcher. If a team has a good catcher, they probably aren't parting with him, because they are few and far in between, and any kind of catcher that's going to make a significant difference this season is not going to be available. So the only place you could make an adjustment is if you look for someone who would kind of fill the DH role, and you got rid of Harold. And if you were going to do that, you could just bring up Aranda. So I don't think that, I just don't see it. I think there's a chance they maybe make a splash, quote unquote, from a pitching perspective, but not offensively.
Yeah, offensively, the biggest like splash I think they could make is at catcher. But that splash would be not very big. It would just create like a tiny wave, not really like a tsunami type of splash, because you don't need a frontline catcher. Like Bethancourt is the pitching staff loves throwing to him. He's such a grinder. He will play through anything. He's got a great arm. I was fine with Mejia and Bethancourt, but if Mejia is going to be out extended time, which we don't really know, like it's going to be at least a month probably, including his rehab. So maybe Jan Gomes, I've heard that name thrown around a bit. I'm never really in love with particular names, but just some kind of veteran catcher who can be platooned with Bethancourt, who's going to get like 40% of the playing time. Like I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with Pinto. I just think it would be smart to bolster that roster spot with a depth piece who's also a veteran, because you kind of need a veteran presence this time of the year, and it's such an intangible thing. It's really hard to quantify, but it's extremely valuable. We saw it with Cruz, teams of the past. We've had Kluber. Trying to think of other guys. Rich Hill was around. Like Rich Hill got traded, I guess, but you get the point. You need an older experienced voice that isn't a coach, because a coach can only reach his team so much. And Cash does a great job with it, but it hits a little different when it comes from a guy who's actually playing, like out there doing battle with you. So yeah, I don't know. I think a veteran bat, if anything, but I'm not too in love with the bats. And honestly, the pitching, like you said, it's kind of tough to find a spot. So if we do, well, okay, so the front office did say they want to add an arm or two. So where do they add that arm? Is it like a starting pitcher? Is it a bulk guy? Is it a relief pitcher? Is it a hybrid of those? Like, what do you think we're going to do here?
I think there's going to be, I really liked what the Dodgers did. I don't like what they paid, but I liked what they did in getting a good reliever and a good starter in the same location. And Lance Lynn, I guess you could question if he's good. His numbers weren't great this year, but I think you'll go to the Dodgers and you'll be great because they're the Dodgers. But I think the Cardinals are a partner in that regard. People have said that the Rays have been scouting the Cardinals starters, and now there's links to Jordan Hicks in the bullpen as well. So maybe a Montgomery and Hicks deal somewhere where we do move an Aranda, and maybe someone like Greg Jones, that middle infield glut that Zach mentioned before, could be something. But with the price paid for Lynn and Kelly, you could argue we might have to pay more when Jordan Hicks is involved as well. It's gonna cost, and I don't know how comfortable the Rays will be. But I mentioned it last time I was on the podcast. We got a lot of names that need to be on the 40-man next year. So maybe we're like, if there's a year where we need to shed names, maybe this is the year that they're most comfortable doing it. So the Cardinals seem like the fit where we can pick up that combination of a good to decent starter and a back-end arm that, we're not gagging for, but could always help for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good. That's a really good outcome. I think any of the Cardinals starters would be a good, kind of an innings eater. I don't know that any of them are like high end starters, but I think they would fill a nice role. I think that would be good. I'm going to stay on my Brady Singer propaganda until such time as it is no longer viable. So I'm gonna stay on that as I think a good option. But I think it is going to be a starter. I think it'll be someone who either is a starter currently or could be a starter, and we may see something where they use him as an opener or something like that. I think that could or use him as like an opener for a couple innings and then go to somebody else, or vice versa. They have an opener for him and then he pitches 5 or 6 innings. I don't know, but I do think that's probably the most likely outcome is someone who either is a starter currently or has been a starter or could be used as a starter.
No, definitely. And kind of like you guys were saying, I don't think we necessarily need like the frontline high end names because this pitching staff has been really good. We talked about, we had some bullpen hiccups earlier in the year, but they still have the best ERA as a pitching staff in the majors this year, third best FIP, fourth most FWAR, I believe, as a pitching staff, and no, fifth most. And they're continuing to get better. Just a couple things on that. They've had a FIP that's been better than league average for 4 consecutive weeks now, just for the second time this season. And they are on track as an overall staff to have their lowest FIP in a single week this whole year. So things are looking up, especially with the bullpen. Their strikeout rate is on track for back-to-back weeks above 30% for the first time this year, which seems really weird because it's the Rays bullpen. Like you'd expect more, but they're definitely rounding into form here. And the relief pitchers are on pace for their best week in FIP. 4th consecutive week of a walk rate below 10% for the bullpen, continuing a season high stretch. And the staff as a whole is on pace for their 6th straight week of a walk rate below 10%, which continues their season high. So pitching staff totally fine. We just need some depth. And I think the 2 spots that they could look to upgrade, I really like these guys, but they are kind of like the odd man out here, are Zach Littell and Calvin Fauché. I like what Fauché did the other night, but you could still look to upgrade there. And Zach Littell, we're not married to him, but he's definitely provided some versatility, and I think it would be nice to kind of upgrade those 2 spots. So should be interesting. We're going to know more by the next time we record, which is great. And hopefully by the next time we record, everybody has already purchased their shirt or something. I guess it's just shirts from shop.rblrsports.com. We got promo code FLAPPY, FLAPPY, for 10% off your order. You can get team-inspired merchandise from the Bucks to the Rowdies. Wait, I'll do it in order. The Rowdies, the Bucks, the Lightning, and the Rays. Actually, the Rays should be first for Rays, Bucks, Lightning, Rowdies. But I'm sure I'll get some flack for that. Yeah, nope. Okay, whatever. Just buy something. We gotta pay to fly Pat out here. So you gotta get a shirt. I don't know what the conversion rate is from dollars to euros, but or pounds, right?
It's pounds. It's pounds.
Yeah. The Brexit, man. We gotta have a whole Brexit episode.
We do. That'll be an off-season topic.
Don't get me started because otherwise I'm gonna. Oh, I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna talk about it right now.
All right, we're gonna Brexit from this topic and move on to our bats and our arms of the week. So, we said it was a pretty middling week, but who stood out to you this week, Zach, for your bat of the week?
For my bat of the week, it's probably the least subtle and the least surprising bat of the week, maybe of the season. It's Brandon Lowe. It wasn't even close. He had like a 222 WRC plus this week. When he gets hot, he is on a different level. Like when he gets as hot as maybe anybody in baseball gets hot when he's hot. When you like last night, like it was so clear after the first 2 at bats, they just were not interested in pitching to him at all for the rest of the game. And I don't know what Framber Valdez was thinking with that first pitch. Was it Framber Valdez?
Christian Javier.
Christian Javier. I get them mixed up for no reason at all the time. But I don't know what he was thinking with that slider in the middle of the zone, first pitch to Brandon Lowe. That was a very bad decision. But Brandon Lowe, it's so good to see him back. When he's kind of having a rough time, because he gets so many of the best pitches from a lot of pitchers, it can look kind of rough when he's not, performing at his best, but he's finally back in his groove. I expect him to continue to perform this well throughout the rest of the season. And we are T-minus 12 home runs to Zach Blaine shaving his hair off. So excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to get that on the show. Yeah, Brandon Lau for me as well. 229 WRC plus. Jose Siri had a pretty good week too at 132, but
Did.
Brandon Lau also stole a base, which is kind of cool. Stole it last night. I know it's not a glove of the week, it's a bat of the week, but his defense this week was he made some like really like nice. They were like goodly awkward plays where it was like I didn't know your body could move like that. Like he turned a couple double plays. He had some good moments ranging to his right. Like just he's looking really healthy and it shows both with what we're watching and in the box score. So I really like that from Brandon Lau. Moving on to the arms of the week, I'm going with Pete Fairbanks. He grinded through some outings, like not in a bad way, but like he's just so dominant. Fastball was sitting at 197 stuff plus this week, and that's after being used pretty heavily lately. So he's so locked in, and yeah, he's just a lockdown reliever, and it's so nice to have him at the end of the games where he's able to just rack up saves, especially for my fantasy team, which I love. But yeah, he had a couple of saves this week. Just so consistent and so dominant, and it's really great to see him, rounding into form here.
Yeah, really good to see him kind of getting back to the elite closer that he has been in the past. Really good to see every time he comes on the mound. I feel like we're going to win this game, and we don't always win the game every time he comes on the mound, but I always feel that way, and I think that's how a good closer should make you feel like when this guy gets on the mound, we're going to win this game. So that's how he makes you feel every time he gets on the mound. So I'm just super excited to see him continue to dominate.
Right. And what about your arm of the week?
My arm of the week is a starter. I think he may have been my arm of the week last week. I'm not sure, but it's Tyler Glasnow. Phenomenal. He's, I think, probably the best performance from a starter this week. Phenomenal. 7 innings start, 8 strikeouts, 1 run allowed. Just dominant on the mound. He is becoming, back to where he was when we were talking about him as like the best pitcher in baseball. He's getting back to that level. And, his start the other night, I believe he only got 1 strikeout on the curveball. The slider is becoming such a weapon for him. And, for a guy who was known for so long as just a fastball curveball guy, now having that slider cutter, whatever he calls it, is it's become such a weapon for him, which really rounds him out as a pitcher and just makes him so efficient and so deadly. Going into the 7th inning is so valuable for this team right now to like kind of get back some of those innings we had to expend from our bullpen earlier in the year. Him being able to get some of those innings back, what he's going on. He's at 2 consecutive starts now of 7 innings. He's the best starter right now on the Rays at this very moment. And that's in a very tightly contested race with 2 other very good starters. So he's my arm of the week. He continues to just be excellent, and I can't wait to see his next start.
Yeah, he was really great on the field, and he was good in the box office too. I know his movie Oppenheimer was taking in a lot of money this week, so good for him. Happy for Glasnow. We're gonna put you on the spot here, Pat. Who, if you had to pick one player from this week that you would say was, the biggest standout to you, who would you say?
Oh, you've all made such good choices already.
It doesn't have to be somebody we said. It could be somebody else too. No pressure.
Oh, okay. I want to say Lau just because he's been unplayed. Okay, I'm not going to say unplayable because that's a soccer terminology, which I think is rubbish anyway. But he's so good. He's so good. He went, like Zach said, when he's hot, he's maybe the best hitter in baseball. And he said in an interview that he's feeling like his swing's as best as it was since 2021, which didn't he hit 39 home runs that year? Like, oh boy, if we're in for that kind of pace for the rest of the season, the offense is saved purely just by that swing alone. I also, it's maybe not this week in particular, but this month, Jose Siri, I love what he's been doing all over the diamond as well. He's such a valuable asset to this team that deserves so much love. He's just an effortless fielder that makes us not have to miss KK too bad out there. He's so fast as well. Like what he did yesterday and just what he did in the 9th inning yesterday was so valuable, where he turned that single into a double and then just needed 2 sac flies to get him in to score the game-winning run. So valuable what he does everywhere. And also anyone that said that he would lead the team in home runs this year is due a lot of money from whatever betting agent they made that with, because holy smokes, 20 home runs already. He might hit 30 this year. I did not see that coming. So Jose Siri, shout out.
Who do you guys think is going to finish the year with more home runs this year? Brandon Lowe or Jose Siri?
Brandon Lowe. How many home runs does Brandon Lowe have right now? He has
Let me check.
Does he have 13?
12, I think.
It's a good question. I feel like I should have looked that up before I said that. All right, blah blah blah. Loading. Okay, he's got 12.
12. So he's got 12. Siri's got 20. That's a really tough question.
I mean, it's a big 8 home runs is a pretty significant gap, but
yeah,
Brandon Lowe could rattle off like a week where he hits 4 or 5, and this is a new conversation.
I'm going to be aggressive and say Brandon Lowe ends the season with like 26 home runs. I think he's going to hit 14 more, and Jose Siri hits like 4 or 5 more, and he just slightly edges him out. I'm gonna be aggressive.
Yeah,
I'm going to be aggressive in the other way. I'm going to go the other way. I think Siri's getting to 30 this year. I think he's going to do it.
Awesome.
He's got such an all or nothing swing that like he's only swinging for the fences most of the time. So he's going to get those home runs, especially. Yeah, I'm going to go Siri. He's got the head start, and he's got the power swing. I know Lowe does too, but the head start is what's going to do it. I think Lowe could get to 25, but I think Siri's going to get to 30.
Okay, nice. This is going to be something to keep track of. I'll put it in my notes so I remember to follow it up next week. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like all the big important things. We talked about your article, some trade deadline stuff. I'll touch on some injuries and miscellaneous news here, and then if we missed anything, we can throw it in. But Taylor Walls, like we said, Mejia also maybe out like a month, maybe more. Fleming's getting stretched out back in Durham. Kittredge is looking good in Durham as well. His velocity continues to climb little by little, but I think the gun might be a little nerfed out there in Durham, so we'll see. The draft picks from the recent draft that we had this year are starting to trickle into the complex league and into A-ball, so we're going to see the Rays start to do that soon with some of their guys. And Colby White looks really close to moving up from the complex league in his next step in his rehab, so I'm really excited about that. He's definitely a wild card in all this, and I'm excited to see what he could possibly do if he's added to the active roster at some point, maybe in September when the rosters expand or whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Is there anything I missed from any other news? Anything we should talk about?
I don't think so. I do, before we go, have a soapbox I would like to stand on for a moment, if you guys will allow me for just a brief moment to stand on it.
Yeah, we got time.
I'm going to read you 2 stat lines. The first is a batting average of 264, on-base percentage of 328, slugging percentage of 433, with an OPS of 761, OPS plus of 112, and a WAR of 4.3. Do you have any idea who that player is?
Is it on the Rays?
It is on the Rays, yes.
Okay. Which WAR is it? Which version?
Baseball Reference WAR.
Okay. Yeah, go for it, Pat. You buzzed in first.
Is it Luke Rayleigh?
It is not. It is Wander Franco. That is his current stat line right now. That is his current, slash line right now. Do you feel like that is below, at, or above where we expect him to be, like for his career?
I'd say below. I feel like he can produce more than that. I know Baseball Reference kind of maybe overvalues defense just a little bit, but that's still a fantastic WAR total. If you put up I think their rule of thumb on Baseball Reference is if it's like 4 to 5 WAR is you're an all-star. Anything more than that, like you're in the MVP conversation. So I expect Wander to be like in the MVP conversation. I know he's 22 years old, so he's still got some growing to do, obviously. But no, this is, it's not bad, but I definitely expected more out of him, and I expect him to eclipse at least 5, maybe 5.5 WAR, Baseball Reference WAR, since we're talking about that scale, by the end of the season. I think that's a realistic expectation for him.
I'm glad that you said 5.5 WAR, because I'd like to now read you another stat line. Because if you've gone on Twitter in the last 2 weeks, you might think that the stat line that I just read to you is a player that should be sent down to the minors and is potentially the worst player on the team, the way some people have been talking about him. So I'd like to read you another stat line, and that is a batting average of 261, on base percentage of 329, slugging percentage of 492. OPS of 821, OPS plus of 114, and now this is a full season, so a WAR of 5.8. That's it's a very similar stat line to Wander's, wouldn't you say? And we say that it's potential that Wander could get up to a 5.5, somewhere in that range of WAR, Baseball Reference WAR, by the end of the season, right? I think that's fair. So, any guesses of who that player is? This is a complete season, so it's not this season, and it is not a player on the Rays. Just any guesses who that might be?
Wait, is it from this season?
No, it's not from this season.
No.
It's from
Is it from last season?
It's from a past
Okay.
season.
So
Not
not
a past
necessarily
season.
last. Okay.
Yes, it is a season that has happened. And it is a player you would know. It's not like a trick question to some random guy. It's just someone you know.
Not a Rays player.
Not a Rays player, but it is somebody that you know.
Is that like?
Go ahead.
Wait, go ahead. No, you go first.
I'll give you one last hit, and it is this season is the same age season as Wander's age. So it's his age 22 season.
Okay. Willie Adames?
No.
I feel like that was
a good guess though.
Okay, I can.
Is it
close counts? I guess. Is
it Tatis?
It is not Tatis. It is the age 22 season of a Pittsburgh Pirate by the name of Barry Bonds. And his age 22 season, that was his slash line, almost the exact same slash line as Wander's this year. The point that I'm trying to make is that can we please not judge Wander off of his age 22 season? Can we please just relax? This is a message to Rays Twitter and social media and everyone out there. Can we please just take a moment and just have a context of where Wander is in his development, where he is as a player right now, and just calm down and let him fail a little bit and let him experience some growing pains and let him grow into what he could be. I'm not saying he's going to be Barry Bonds, but he's probably going to be a lot better than he is right now. So we all need to just take a moment, just accept what he is right now and allow him to grow.
I don't think I've ever known any 22-year-old who I would consider to be a competent person in general. Like even myself at 22,
no,
not
at all.
Not even close. Like I'm 26 now, and I feel like I've tripled in 4 years in terms of personal growth. So yeah, I mean, well, Soulja Boy made Crank That when he was 16, so that doesn't count. That's the peak of peak art, but. No, 22-year-olds, I work with 13 and 14-year-olds. They're bad at everything. 22-year-olds aren't that far off. They're pretty bad at everything too. That's, they're just not smart. They're not, empathetic. It's not, not saying this as an insult, but when you're young, you're just bad at everything.
Yep.
And the fact that he's still good at baseball and he's 22 is crazy because most 22-year-olds are in AA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe AAA if their farm system is weak and shallow and they had a good season. But I expect him to be better in the future, but he's fine with where he's at right now. He's having an all-star season.
Yep. And that's really what I just wanted to leave our audience with today, is that where he is right now is on track to be a very good player. Don't judge him too harshly based off one season. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the journey of his development, because we're going to be watching it for the next 10, 12 years. So enjoy the ride. Enjoy seeing his development. Keep the same energy that you have right now when he turns it around and puts up a Barry Bonds season. Just keep that same energy, because he's going to be there eventually. So let's just take a moment and enjoy what he is and enjoy what he will become.
Absolutely.
Right, awesome. Yeah, great stuff here at the end. I like that. Pat, is there anything you want to plug before you get out of here? I know we talked about your article, but how can people interact with you and yell at you and or praise you in any kind of way?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at maybe a pretty apt at depressed Rays at the moment. I have a display name as UK Rays Boy. You can find me on there. I think I'm at a stage where it's anonymous enough where it can be unprivated. So I'm probably going to go back public with that Twitter account again. So follow me at Depressed Rays, and you can see all my writing at RBLR.com. And please, I love it when people shout at me and tell me I'm a fool for trading for Blake Snell or something like that. And I expect the next article from me after the trade deadline once I know what's happened, because I've done my trade deadline speculation. There's no point in saying anything until after it happens. So keep it plugged to RBLR.com. After the trade deadline, where I'll be breaking down what the Rays did or didn't do and why that was good or not good. Sorry, RBLRsports.com, not RBLR.com.
Yeah, we need RBLRsports.co.uk now or something.
That's true.
The cookies will load fast, or the biscuits will load
fast. The
faster.
biscuits will load, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Make sure you follow, subscribe, share. Probably the most important thing. Share what we're doing. We gotta get Pat on a plane. So you know. That's might be our next shirt. Get Pat on a plane. .co.uk. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening, and Raise Up. We're looking forward to talking about the deadline moves next week.
Raise Up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.